mentally, I was done, but my heart was still obviously married to him, but mentally, I was done. I had to focus on my girls. I had to focus on making sure that we gonna eat, that we gonna have, that they're gonna have their basic necessities, that, all of those things.
So
I'm
that's
not.
kind
Forgiveness whispered hearts began to mend. Restored and rising, we found our way. Through all the trials, we learned how to stay. From ashes we
of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
And I didn't really know. And I'm out
Yeah.
there in warrior
Because they
mode,
were
trying to just,
right.
go and provide. And
You
let me
right.
do this. Let me change for, multiple generations. Just so much that I was wanting to do why I saw this opportunity. And I'm trying to do this. And then I'm seeing she's going the other way. I'm like, you don't understand. You don't understand what I'm trying to do. So again, we were not on the same page.
At all.
And you're also starting to get to the point and go, man, what can we just go back to our old life? Can I just take that position back and can we move? And that was no longer on, it just wasn't, there anymore. There was no more option for that. But I'm sorry, because I didn't realize just that you were already thinking that, and already I'm trying to go out and win for our family. And so I just was like, why don't you understand this? And I didn't see that. I knew there was damaging done, and I just wanted me to go even harder at that. Unfortunately, I was going harder and faster in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And you were not wanting to hear anything that I was saying. Anything that was to be done with it or don't do it, you did not want to hear that at that time. And
all right, just go get a job, do this and that.
yeah,
And then jobs that were way lower where I was at before. So I'm again trying to get reestablished where we're, and then even that much more. And the opposite just kept happening.
Yeah. So I stayed with my mom for maybe a good year as we had moved back to Rochester. So I had needed to get a job.
Because I moved out down to New York City.
Yeah, you moved out in New York. Yeah.
I cannot stay.
Yeah.
I cannot stay in the.
Yeah. So I needed to find a job so I can make things happen for me and my girls, because I was not even focused. He left. I was like, whatever. So then we ended up moving in with Sean, the girls and I.
Yeah, she has a twin sister.
We ended up moving, so it was like maybe a year span.
Because I was already.
So my sister opened up doors for us to be with her, which I'm thankful. I'm so grateful for my mother for her opening up her place to us and my sister. They were there for me and my girls through this ordeal, and I'm so grateful and thankful for their heart and their time that they poured into the girls and I. And I'm sure that they have their own stories. Maybe we'll bring them in.
They definitely hated me for many years.
They did. Maybe we can do a little episode, bring them in and talk about it.
They're gonna probably want to have boxing gloves and just hit me there.
I moved in with Sean.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to go through a whole video of just the whole downfall.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Having a whole bunch, and then literally within 6 months, having nothing. And how do you deal with that? How do you struggle? I literally felt like once I got on board, because what's crazy is I felt God was leading us. I felt God was leading me going into this. I remember praying. I remember fasting for a while, and then everything just went complete opposite. And I felt like I was in a shipwreck, and I was just out there floating, trying to just stay afloat. Like I had something, the Titanic. I'm laying on a piece of board, something, and I'm just trying to stay afloat and getting pulled down. And I just felt like probably 5 years of that feeling, to where It was when I went down to New York City and then relocated again down to Maryland. I mean, there was times where I made very good money. Things were very, very good, but it was just trying to get caught back up from the years I wasn't. So, there's times I did very, very well. It was probably a time where I was running like the top 1% of the company and doing well. But at that time, though, I was getting farther and farther away from God.
Yeah.
I was getting farther and farther away from our marriage being together. And I wasn't seeing it because I was so full force on trying to better my family and doing better and more successful. And it's, as I'm saying this, I'm hearing more and more as it was my will. It was my will, not God's will. It was my will. My will be, that ambition and they're just trying to overachieve and just trying to do so much. And I can tell there's other people here that are resonating with that. And so much of just, you're trying to do so much to build it all, but you're going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You're not putting God's first.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. So going back to when, the girls and I had to move in with Sean, I started drinking wine. And I wasn't a big drinker. But I found myself going and buying bottles of wine to cope with not our distance, but to cope with what I lost. To cope with, I didn't turn into an alcoholic. Let's make that clear. It was just more of getting through, just kind of, I guess, masking what I didn't want to feel at that time. And I was able to control it. So yes, I was not a heavy drinker, but I was definitely a wine drinker. That was my counseling session.
That was your coping.
That was my coping at that time. Yeah. So moved in with Sean, got a job, which I actually enjoyed, by the way. I definitely enjoyed the job. And
you're always good at just working with people. You can work with people.
Yeah.
With people. You're great at that.
Yeah. And then my coworkers at the time, they didn't really know what was going on. But it was three ladies that that I connected with, and we would hang out, and it was just a great time with them. And I really enjoyed them at that time. But there was a point when we were with Sean. No, I'm sorry. Going back to mom. We got to go back to mom because there are so many stories now that I'm thinking about. We were, I was helping you with the business at mom.
So that was, I totally forgot about that. So when I left, we still had a business. I had a whole team.
Yeah.
And when I went down to New York City, I was expanding even more. And she was like, no, okay, so what? When you're like, well, I'll continue building it and helping that out. And you were.
So we were in Webster at the time, I believe, right?
No, we got evicted.
Okay, we were at mom's.
We were.
That's so crazy.
It's so many. It's like
we got evicted from our office. We were running appointments, running the operation of we were in the
library. Oh my gosh.
Until they were trying to kick us out and stuff. Yeah.
So although
you'll hear going through, you'll see there were so many signs of God saying you're going the wrong way.
Right.
We didn't. I was like, no, this means this is a sign. I need to go harder.
Yes. So although my heart was still cold towards him, there was still a side of me that wanted basically him to win in this, and for the other agents that came along with us, I wanted them to win. So I was just like, I'll keep the office open.
Financial services, right? We had agents.
I'll keep the office open.
Financial products, right? Yeah.
So mind you, I'm working full time. The girls are in school. They needed at that time I had them doing math tutoring. They were doing tutoring. So I was stretched thin. I was literally stretched thin, trying to make it work. And I don't even remember when I said I can't do it anymore. I don't remember when I said I can't do it anymore, but we stopped. We shut it down.
Yeah, it wasn't. It just wasn't flourishing
We shut it
anymore at
down.
all.
And then it was just like, I'm working full time and we're just gonna be
I think
there.
at that point she was done.
I was done. And then we moved in with Auntie Sean.
Yeah, and so she was just
I said
going
her
through
name.
different times of, and again, our kids are having to go from home to home, place to
Yes.
place.
Yes.
Luckily, they were able to stay in the same school for at least 2 years there.
Yeah.
And
They were able to.
yeah, or I think the whole time there. But then, kind of land the ship here and stuff like this is, as I was away, things started getting better. There's peaks, there's valleys and stuff. Things started getting better, but she was getting more and more done.
Yeah.
I remember vividly being visiting them, because I would try to go and visit them as much as possible, and she would come and visit us as much as possible. I just adored, loved my kid. I loved family, and I wanted to be there with that and for them. And I remember her saying it's over, and we need to tell the kids. And I'm like, no, you're going to tell the kids that you want it to be over, because I didn't want it to be over. And I remember being in your sister's driveway and standing there and telling the girls, and you were telling them, because I wanted, like, it was hurting. It was selfish. I mean, I didn't want it to be over. So you were saying that, and
So yeah.
and I remember that being I remember leaving there just crushed and hurt.
Yeah.
But also angry.
Yeah, but
Very, very
so I
angry.
remember now why, because when we left Mom's, we left to New York City. We moved to New York City, and then we moved back, and that's
so I was
when
always trying to get you guys to come down to New York City. I was trying to
okay.
provide,
So here's
and then eviction number 2 happened.
right,
there.
exactly.
And that's
So
where all
while
the
you
stuff
were
was up.
right, so while we were at Mom's, I was finding emails that
the video.
I was
We just gotta go
finding
step by step.
exactly.
Wow.
I was finding emails of you interacting with women out in New York. That's why I didn't want you to go, because I knew you wasn't strong. I just knew it. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't about the business. I just knew you were not strong enough to be out there by yourself. So we stayed there for about a year or so, and then we moved to New York City with him. I went because he's my husband. The girls need the girls need their dad. So we go to New York City. I don't even want to get into that part, but we go out to New York City, and then just things were not right, and the pandemic happened.
Well, before
let's not
that,
even.
but even there was just so much backstabbing.
It was a lot.
So much.
We can unpack that in a later episode.
Her, but yeah,
we could unpack that in a later episode. But we left New York City before the pandemic happened. I told Scott, I said, Scott, I'm done, because we got the place that we were renting. They didn't tell us that they were in foreclosure.
And then they were paying the utilities, all that.
Yeah.
It just it went from bad to worse. Eventually, we're out on the street.
I had to put our stuff on the street again.
Yeah.
So even more loss. I mean, I had good things. We had good things. And then, again, coming back and forth to the place, you're seeing your stuff all over the place because people don't pick through it and stuff. So
and in New York,
it was, and I was just
in storage.
I was so,
which we later
I was
lost.
so hurt. So that's when I actually turned to the wine, was after we left New York City, because we moved in with Sean. That's when so my drinking started when we left New York City, because I was done. I was just like, I didn't know what to do. It was just, I'm like, I can't believe we're going through this again. We don't have anything. What are my girls going to do? Looking at my kids, they not really knowing why we're going through this, right? So I was just like, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm leaving. So you stayed, right? And I left.
I stayed for as long as I can.
I think
you
took us back to Rochester.
I remember having a conversation with the CEO of the company and one of the other leaders, and they, helped to talk to me and kind of convinced me to move to Maryland out there. And I was like, all right, Henny, let's move to Maryland. She was like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then eventually, probably within a couple of months of that, me being down in Maryland is when it was over.
Right. So we moved back to Rochester from New York City. I'm saying I'm done with you. And I find a full-time job, which I actually love, by the way. The girls there were absolutely amazing. And we had a blast there. I met some great people, which I'm still in contact with today. But I love those girls there. So and I was thriving. The girls are thriving. I had ended up buying a car. And my girls and I, we were eventually working through to get a place. And y'all know COVID was shutting things down left and right. So the place that I had wanted to move into, it was just like, oh, you can't do it. So that brought even more stress and anxiety on me because I'm trying to have a place of my own with my daughters, and nothing was opening up at the time. And Scott was still in New York City and just a mess. So I
was in Maryland at that point. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go to the liquor store and buy me a bottle of wine. And in the midst of the wine, I was still going to church. I was still reading my word. I was still in worship. I'm not saying that was great, but that's how I coped with my situation at hand. And I'm not telling y'all to do that. I'm saying these were the steps that I chose to take. And during that process, God still brought people in my life to help me get through it. I ended up connecting with a therapist, a counselor, all the way in North Carolina, actually. So we did Zoom sessions. And the way that I connected with them was I text your mother and I was just like, I'm done with Scott. And she was like, are you sure? Or something like that. And she was like, I have there's somebody in my church that has a counselor. Maybe you can reach out to them and stuff like that. So I ended up reaching out to her. Oh, we're still at Sean, and this was still the pandemic. And I reached out to the counselor, and she was a godsend. She was a godsend. She is a Christian therapist. Absolutely amazing. We had our first consult, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this again. But what really made me choose to stay with her, she said one thing. She said a lot, but there was one thing that stuck out to me. She says,
forgiveness whispered, hearts began to